Look, look, she's carrying the bag again. Look how heavy it is for her. The waitresses, who had gone out for a smoke break, laughed merrily. One of them shouted at the dishwasher. Woman, don't mess up your bad back all the way, the leftovers are heavier than the food. The old woman turned around, smiled sadly and, grabbing her bag with her other hand, ran with a quick step towards the bus stop. I wonder why she needs so many leftovers to take home. Who knows? It's only her second week on the job. And our Pablo, you know, is not interested in the personal lives of the staff. The girl gave me a scornful look, but the other one laughed. What, Martina, Pablo doesn't pay attention to you, no matter how hard you try. Oh, I don't need him at all. Ugh. He's ugly and gray-haired. Well, he's gray because he fought in the war. But you're wrong about him being ugly. Because Pablo is very charming, very masculine. Martina looked at her friend. Really? You've fallen in love with our administrator too? Well, why would I fall in love? I just said he was very interesting, a man. No, Martine, there's no point in us thinking about relationships with men like that. The bosses are not interested in men like you and me. They want high-class women, and you and I are just ordinary girls. Martine sighed. She realized that her friend was right about something. Pablo, their administrator, was a friend of the restaurant owner. If the boss was about 40 years old, Pablo was 3 or 4 years younger. The whole staff knew that they had met somewhere in the war, and then went into the restaurant business. It was also rumored that they had been in terrible situations, in which they saved each other. That's why their friendship is so strong. Pablo was at work and Martina went straight to him. Pablo, is this normal? Our new dishwasher is carrying bags of leftovers home. Pablo looked at her mockingly. You'd feel better if they threw those leftovers in the garbage. Martina blushed, but she wasn't going to give in to the argument. Well, think about it. If a person lives so poorly that he eats scraps and probably feeds someone else, can you imagine the conditions at home? How could someone like that be allowed near the dishes? Pablo got angry and said, Clara has all the necessary certificates, she is always neat, clean. And you don't know who she feeds with those leftovers, do you? If you, Martina, were half as good at your job as Clara Grigorievna, you'd be worthless. Please attend to your duties, and remember, gossip never adorned a young girl. Martina, red with shame, ran away. Her friend was waiting for her. Did you get scolded? Tell me, why do you try to be smart where you're not asked? Martine was mean. He's a nasty man. He found someone to defend. Some old woman who eats leftovers. I won't be myself, but a dishwasher doesn't work here. What did that woman do to you? Rita sighed heavily. Well, takes leftovers from work and let him take them, he doesn't take them without asking. Why are you angry with her? Nothing. Martine almost cried. Why is the receptionist talking to me like that? Rita sighed again and said, Let's go home. Our restaurant has been closed for half an hour, and we still can't get ready. The next day, when the girls came to work, Valentina was already laboring. There were no dishes yet, so she was washing the window, the tables, in general, cleaned the back room. Martina said contemptuously, What, are you working for scraps? Clara flinched, turned around and just smiled. So calmly, as if Martina was an unreasonable child and there was no need to take offense at her foolishness. That smile immediately put Martina out of her mind. She walked over to Clara and said, You shouldn't be smiling. I'll ruin your life anyway. If you don't quit this job, I'll tell the owner of the restaurant, since the administrator turns a blind eye to everything? Clara asked in surprise. Martina, why are you mad at me? Is it because of the leftovers? Do you need some too? Martina even choked with indignation. She quickly ran out of the restaurant and slammed the door so hard that the glass almost flew out. Clara stared at the door in surprise. Then she turned to a stunned Rita. What's going on with her? Rita said, Oh, I don't know. Clara was indignant. Is she really going to complain to the landlord? Pablo gave me permission. Rita shrugged her shoulders and followed her friend out. I felt sorry for that old Clara. It was not from a good life that she carried these scraps in bags. On the other hand, she was dressed normally, but what was she missing? Anyway, Martine is her friend and she should be supported, not Clara. And Martine was really pissed off. A few years ago, she herself would have been happy with such leftovers from the restaurant table. Martina couldn't help but pick it up. Born into a family of alcoholics, there was almost never any food in the house. She stole and went hungry. Always, every day, every hour, she was ashamed. Ashamed because her father often fell asleep before reaching home. And her mother, while he was away, took in all the people from the street. Now Martine wasn't even sure if her father was really her father. One winter day he froze to death outside the house. Her mother didn't grieve for long. 2 weeks later she brought a new man into the house, with whom she died 6 months later, poisoned by spoiled liquor. Martin was already 14 then. Her aunt came to pick her up. It turns out that her mother had a sister, with whom she had not communicated for a long time. Or maybe the sister didn't need such relatives as Martin's mother. Anyway, she took her home and said, I've got 2 kids myself. You're a stranger to me. You'll stay at my house until you're 17, and then you'll be on your own. Martine didn't resent her aunt. During these 4 years she had realized that it was possible to live differently. And food in the house all the time, and cleanliness. Martina had been living separately for 5 years, but she congratulated her aunt on all holidays. She even came to visit her sometimes. Clara, on the other hand, brought back memories of her childhood. The very ones that the girl really wanted to forget. And also none of those with whom she socialized now did not know how she lived until she was 14 years old. In the evening Pablo told her that the landlord was coming back in 2 days. He was traveling somewhere abroad, studying the restaurant business. The bosses were always learning. At the moment they had a restaurant and several small cozy cafes. I hope you and I didn't get too comfortable while Noah was away. Everything is clean, the kitchen fridges are in order, the complaint book is a beauty. Martina hummed, let's see how Noah feels about some strange woman sneaking food out of his restaurant. Rita immediately turned to her friend. Oh, come on. Not food, but leftovers from the tables. Who needs it? Martin had a dream. A dream to get married so he could get married without thinking about anything else. Even if she didn't have billions, although that would be nice, but just a good, trouble-free life. She wanted it very much. And for that she needed a good husband. As soon as she came to this restaurant, she immediately decided that Pablo was exactly what she needed. But he didn't pay any attention to her at all. Then a thought occurred to her. Why not try dating the owner? He's not much older, and she's all fresh and pretty. Just the right occasion to draw attention to herself. Only it had to be presented in a clever way. On the day when Noah was to appear at the restaurant, Martina devoted a lot of time to her appearance. She even had to get up early, although it wasn't easy for her. She came to work as if she were on a date. Even Pablo raised his eyebrows in surprise and then, understanding, grinned. Martine didn't like his smirk. But she decided to ignore him. The girls were whispering. They said Noah was already there. Martine exhaled. Now or never. She knocked, opened the door a little. Noah, may I come in? He looked at her, and smiled. Martine, if I'm not mistaken, come in, of course. Do you have some business with me? Martine closed the door tightly behind her, smiled charmingly, and spoke. She began by saying that she cared about the reputation of the restaurant where she worked. Noah listened, looked at her in surprise and said, I don't really understand, are you because of the waste or because the person might not be clean enough? Well, of course it's the second. What's the waste to me? All right, let's go and see our employee. I understand she came to work after I left. That's right. They left the office and immediately ran into Pablo. Pablo looked at Martin carefully and smirked. You can't be quiet, Martina, I see. Martina passed by silently. What was Pablo to her when she was with the master himself? They entered the washroom. Noah said loudly. Hi, I'm Noah, the owner of the restaurant. Let's get acquainted. The old woman slowly turned around and suddenly exhaled. Noah. Yes. Noah froze for a second, then spoke up. Clara, is that you? He rushed to her, hugged her. Martina and Pablo looked at them in surprise. Martina quickly realized that now she would not be able to get to know her boss better, and the farewell to her job might not be far off. The girl quickly ran away. But the whole staff was already at the door. Pablo, come here. Remember I told you about the woman who was left to help at the hospital after her son couldn't be saved. Remember how she dragged me from the ward when the shelling started, dragging me on a blanket across the floor? I owe my life to her. Me and all the other abandoned animals in that place. How could you do that? I thought, after that shelling, I was looking for you. She smiled. I was wounded, Noah. I was being transported from one place to another. I was shot in the head. I remember here, I don't remember there. When I recovered, I came home. You know, people lose animals in the city in peacetime, too. Maybe they abandon them. I'm so sorry, Noah. I thought no one wanted the waste, and now there's an uproar. Noah jumped up on the spot. Clara, don't even think about it. It's ridiculous. We'll buy you everything you need on purpose. And you don't have to do the dishes anymore. What's wrong with you? You have to live and enjoy life. What do you mean I won't? Then who will? Dishes won't wash themselves, said Clara. We'll find someone, we'll put an ad out. And while we're looking. Noah turned to the staff. Where's our wrestler? Martina's working in the sink until we find someone. Martina was almost crying, and Rita was sighing. Martine, I told you not to get involved. What did you get out of it? I don't know what you want with these leftovers. You see, just as I thought, she didn't carry them for herself, but for homeless animals. I don't care. I'm not gonna work here anymore anyway. Where are you going to work? A factory. You won't even have enough for a rented house, let alone anything else. And then Martina burst into tears. Why? Rit, why is it always like this? What's wrong with me? When I was a kid, I'd enjoy such scraps like a feast. And then some grandmother put it all in one bag and carried it away. When I think back, I hate everyone. The restaurant and Clara. How am I supposed to live with that? Rita looked at her friend with huge eyes. She'd never realized it was so bad. But there was no one. Rita was looking at her. Standing in the doorway was Pablo. And looked at Martin in surprise, too. He had thought she was just a rotten person. But it was much worse than that. Martina went out to do the dishes. She didn't quit, she didn't say anything to anyone. She just shut herself away. 2 days later Palak brought in a woman. Martina, show me everything. This is our new dishwasher. Martina silently took off her apron. Where do I go? Should I write a statement? Yes. Martina looked down and Pablo continued. An application for vacation. I made a deal with Noah. I want to invite you to go skiing. I know a good ski resort. Martina looked at Pablo in amazement. But he said nonchalantly. There will be 2 different rooms. Don't worry about it. Then this campground became one of the favorite places of the young family. And also, having agreed with the administration, they left albums with homeless animals, which Clara fed and many of which found a new home. By the way, Martina apologized to Clara. And invited her to her wedding to Pablo. Clara, of course, forgave. She always forgave everyone. She was a very kind woman. Thank you very much for watching. See you in the next videos. Subscribe to our channel. All the best to you.